The last straw. The diner went dead silent the moment I pinched that single black hair between my fingers and held it up next to Mr. Whitmore's steak. The hum of the neon eat sign flickered like a dying breath, and the clatter of forks against plates halted mid-bite. Even the ceiling fan above us seemed to slow, its blades cutting through the thick, buttery air with a groan. His face, oh his face, turned the color of overcooked beets, the kind that had been boiling too long in the back, soft and wrinkled at the edges. The couple at the next booth, a man with a comb-over so precise it looked painted on and his wife in a floral blouse that had seen better decades, pressed their napkins to their mouths, their shoulders shaking with the effort of holding back laughter. "You expect me to eat this?" Whitmore hissed, his voice like a tea kettle left too long on the flame. He jabbed his fork at the plate as if it were a crime scene, the tines glinting under the harsh fluorescence. A bead of grease from the steak slid down the side, pooling near the hair like a tiny oily witness to the whole affair. I leaned in, close enough to smell the sour tang of his cologne, something expensive, something that had probably come in a bottle shaped like a cannon. My voice stayed sweet the way my grandma's tea was sweet, deceptively so, right before the sugar hit you like a punch. "Sir, this kitchen has a zero-tolerance policy for foreign objects. Would you like me to call the health department, like you suggested?" I tilted my head, letting the word sit between us like an unpaid tab. "I'm sure they'd be fascinated by your complaint." His jowls trembled, the skin under his chin wobbled like jello in an earthquake, and for a second I thought he might actually choke on his own outrage. Then his lips curled into a sneer. "That hair's yours, isn't it? Probably fell right out of your—" "Oh, this was going to be fun." I cut him off with a grin, the kind that starts slow and spreads like a stain. "You know," I said, drawing out the words like taffy, "there is one more thing I should mention." The diner held its breath. Even the fry cook, Ernesto, paused mid-flip, a basket of golden fries hovering in the air like a suspended exclamation point. Slowly, deliberately, I reached up and lifted off my cap. The brim had been worn soft by years of use. The fabric faded to a color somewhere between brown and regret. And then there it was, my scalp, gleaming under the diner's unforgiving lights, smooth as a polished river stone. 15 years of not a single strand, not a whisper of stubble, just skin taut and unapologetic, reflecting the light like a freshly waxed car. The gasp from the elderly woman in booth 4 was audible, sharp as the crack of a whip. She clutched her pearls, actual pearls, the kind that probably had stories of their own, and her eyes went wide enough to swallow the whole room. Whitmore's mouth flapped open, then closed, then opened again like a fish gasping on dry land. His Adam's apple bobbed up and down, as if his body couldn't decide whether to scream or swallow his pride. And then without a word, his hand shot into his pocket. The crisp slap of a $50 bill hitting the table was like a gunshot in the silence. It lay there stiff and new, the edges still sharp from the bank. He didn't even wait for his change, didn't demand an apology, didn't so much as glance at the steak again, just snatched his coat off the back of the chair, knocking over his water glass in the process, sending ice cubes skittering across the linoleum like startled mice, and bolted for the door. His dignity trailed behind him like a torn coat, flapping in the breeze as the door swung shut with a bang that rattled the salt shakers. For a heartbeat no one moved. Then the room erupted. Ernesto let out a low whistle from the kitchen window, his apron string swaying as he shook his head. The couple in the next booth lost their battle with composure, their laughter spilling out in great heaving waves. The elderly woman in booth 4 wheezed, pressing a hand to her chest. "Honey," she said, her voice thick with amusement, "I haven't seen a man run that fast since the '65 tornado took old Mr. Higgins' prize rooster clean off the fence post." I tucked the 50 into my apron pocket, the paper still warm from Whitmore's palm. It felt good there, heavy with the weight of a small victory. Some battles aren't won with swords, or in this case hair. Sometimes all it takes is the truth, served with a side of irony, and a really good straight razor.